Hello and welcome back to the SuperCoach Corner podcast for another team preview ahead of the SuperCoach AFL 2026 season. I'm Tyson, joined alongside me is Darcy. Darcy, we're heading into Port Adelaide. How do you feel about Port going into 2026?
Not as good as you, Matt. I remember from one of our earlier episodes, I think you're pretty bullish on Port, so I'm looking forward to getting your prediction towards the end of the episode. But no, there's a few Supercoach relevant players. I mean, a couple in particular that are big and really highly owned that I'm keen to get stuck into. But no, it'll be good. Another good episode. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I am a bit more bullish on Port than you are, and a lot of other people, really. So we'll see how that plays out in this episode. But firstly, shout out to our socials. Make sure you're following us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, X, everywhere. Obviously, if you listen to us on audio, you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Make sure you head across to YouTube. Hit the subscribe button, the like button, all that kind of stuff. That's enough for the formalities. Let's get straight into Supercoach content. And, well, firstly, the Unlimited League. As always, I have the code handy every time.
As always.
728323. Make sure you jump in there. Test yourself out against us and other Supercoach Corner viewers. And, yeah, there's still a few cash leagues running. Right now, I don't know if the draft league is going to fill up by the time this episode's out. But we currently have 5 spots left, if I'm not mistaken. So quickly jump in. There's still time. We're probably going to cut it off at the end of the week because we just need to get the draft going, I guess. So make sure you quickly jump into that if you want to give draft a go. But let's get stuck into the players. Rookies first, as always. Now, one of the highest owned rookies currently in the game, if you want to call it a game, is Will Brodie at 120k. Come across from Freo, mid-only. He's in 55% of teams. Should he not be in 100%?
This one's just as easy as if he's playing, he's in. If he's not, he's not. I think maybe a few people aren't picking him because they're just a bit iffy on whether he's playing or not. But if he's starting round 1, you're picking him and you're just locking him away on field. There's no doubt about that. So, yeah, we know he's good enough for AFL standard. It's just whether he gets picked.
Yep, I think he's a lock to start in Port Adelaide's side, mainly due to the fact that Ollie Wines is out for the first week, maybe 2 weeks. I can't remember exactly, but he's definitely missing the first game or two for his high bump on Cooper Lord at the end of last season. So, yeah, he's going to definitely take Ollie Wines' spot. It's just whether he can keep his spot when Ollie Wines is back available and all of that. We know that this guy is so good Supercoach-wise. He did it for a good year or two at Freo when he was actually really at the primo range. He's gone back to the second level, the waffle, and dominated. He's now moved across to Port to get more game time. They've clearly promised it to him, and all preseason notes are just pointing to Will Brodie dominating through the midfield. So I really like this pick. I'm sold from what I'm hearing, and I know that this guy is a gun. I'm a big fan of Will Brodie. I think as soon as he gets that game or two to shine, he's going to lock that spot away. Are you not the same?
No, I'm exactly the same. I mean, he dominated at waffle level for years, but hasn't played since 2023 and only played 5 games that year as well. So there might be something behind the scenes that we're missing. And I'm hoping it's not the same at Port Adelaide. Maybe it was just he had a bit of a run-in with the coaches at Freo and that's why he couldn't get a game. I'm hoping that changes at Port and he can lock away that role. And if that's the case, there's no doubt that he is a lock in our sides for a long period. But yeah, I'm just waiting for him to be picked and he'll be locked away on my side.
Yeah, I think everyone needs to agree with that. Just put him in there for now. Even if he plays 2 games, he's probably going to need another game at some point. But yeah, we don't like picking dead rookies after 2. Another one that's actually should be higher in the ownage percentage. I mean, it's touch and go with some other news that we've heard, but Todd Marshall is 148k. Do you he's playing down back. He's playing that intercept kind of role for Port. Do you not see this do you see this continuing? I rated him
Yeah,
as a
yeah.
forward. Why are they doing this?
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I thought he was a really promising key forward, but from all reports, he's playing really, really good footy down back. They rate his ball use, and he seems to be using that, and he's strong aerially as well. So I'm sure he'll be strong in the air, intercept marking, and keep using the ball well. And that's Supercoach gold, really. He is super, super high on my rookie list. He's locked away in that forward line. You got to remember as well, uh, all things going to plan, after round 6, he gets defensive DPP. It just makes him even more like gold for you. Then you got a forward defender DPP, and they're huge. They're so valuable later in the year. Even if he's not playing, even if he gets injured, like that flexibility is huge. So, but from all reports, yeah, he's trained really well. His body seems to be okay at this point. It's touch wood. And I can only imagine that his role will translate to good Supercoach scoring. So yeah, he's locked away on my side, and I'm surprised that he's not in more sides.
Yep. Yeah, we know that third tall or that intercept floating defender that a lot of teams do have score pretty well in Supercoach. Yeah, you got your Tom Stewart's, your Jordan Ridley's when he's on the park, all that kind of stuff. They always score very well. They're always in the primo category. So if you're buying one for 148K, we know he's good overhead because he's played a lot down forward. I think he should almost be a lock. And like you said, yeah, after round 6, he should get that defensive forward status, which is just huge. He should be still pumping out good scores then, provided he is still playing down back. The only caveat I have on this is the fact that Mitch Georgiades got a little injury in that State of Origin game. So does that mean he maybe goes back forward to be that target? How do you see the makeup at Port with that?
I don't think so. I mean, firstly, I think Georgiades is touch and go for this Friday night's game. Their unofficial practicing match. So I think it was a knock, more like a corky sort of thing on a State of Origin. So from all reports, he's okay. But from what it sounds like, they're going to persist with Ollie Lord down forward. I think they got one of the Whitlock Black brothers who is playing well this preseason as a key forward as well. So it looks like a long-term sort of play with Marshall down back, and you'd think with the position that Port are in, they'll persist with that. So unless there's a big long-term injury to someone like Georgiades, I think Marshall will get a good crack off half-back, hopefully.
Yeah, yeah. Can't disagree with that one. And you already mentioned him. On the next rookie that we're going to talk about is Jack Whitlock at 177K, so he's a bit more inflated. Pickable as a forward. He debuted to the back end of last season, obviously playing as a key position player. His scoring is going to be up and down. So he started with a 14 in a full game. These are all full games. He didn't get sub-affected at all. So 14, 49, 61, and a 40 for the 4 games at the back end of last year. But there's a lot of good positive news coming out of Port for Jack Whitlock. I just don't think I'm going to be spending 177K on a key forward at this point. Are you thinking the same, Das?
Yeah, exactly the same. So there's a lot of value up forward in those sort of the rookies. There's a lot of like fallen forwards who've come off injury, like Todd Marshall, and obviously plays some other teams as well. Jamari Ugahagan's not much more expensive. I'd rather take the punt on those sort of guys than a 19-year-old key forward. So no, I'm happy to pass on him.
Yep, I agree with that. Let's move to the mid prices, where we're going to start with someone that was spoken about a lot at the start of last season as a potential option in the early rounds, especially because he was just playing off half back, and Connor Rozee hadn't moved him a half back. We're talking about Jace Burgoyne here at 401K. Started the year last year with a 50 against your mob, but then dropped a back-to-back 120s and looked just $1 million. A lot of people jumped on him. Can we look at Jace Burgoyne this year?
I think that's exactly what you'll get from him. He's very up and down. I wouldn't be. It's not a discounted enough price for mine to be looking there. I mean, he's over 400K, so he's got good, defender mid DPP, but I don't see him breaking into that upper echelon. I think what you see is what you get with Jace Burgoyne, and he'll sort of float around that 450 mark for the year. He'll pump out some good scores like he's shown that he can, but yeah, he's not someone that I'd be relying on to win me games.
Yeah, I agree with that. Unless he was going to be the main guy, main distributor for Port off halfback, I don't think we can look there. And then with the emergence of, I guess, Connor Rozee going off halfback, being the main distributor, and still Kane Farrell down there or players like
Mm.
that. So I think it's an easy pass on Jace Burgoyne. Um, in the midfield for the mid prices, Jackson Mead at 283k. Couple of reports that he might be going to halfback. Just another one to throw in there, but
Yeah,
at a
just on the
fairly
watch, I
discounted
guess.
price at 283k.
Yeah, I mean, just the track reports that he's training up halfback. We love it as super coaches. That's just what you want. Is failed small forwards getting moved to halfback, getting cheap ball, and they score well with it. But I don't think you'd be looking there now. But I mean, watch a couple of racking matches. If he gets a game and starts to rack up the ball, then maybe he'll be relevant. But at this stage, there's better options around that price in the midfield, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Probably don't waste your money there. Like, you might get to that Burgoyne range, but Burgoyne's had a couple of years in that role,
Yeah,
so you can sort of adjust
he's
how
never going to
how
be the
you see fit
main
there.
man back there. So, um,
Mm,
like he might be third fiddle and
yeah.
help you out a couple of 70s or 80s, but he's not going to be dropping big scores. In the forward line, Tyson, you mentioned him before. He got that niggle in that state of origin. Georgiades, there was some murmurs in the preseason that he was having a run through the midfield. It sort of spiked his Supercoach ownership for a little bit there. Any interest, even if he was playing midfield as a Supercoach pick?
Nah, I see him being like the exact same as a player like Jake Stringer or something like that, who's just going to get the odd CBA randomly here and there and just maybe look all right, burst through a pack, but then do nothing else on the others. And then he just goes back and sits up forward because we know that he can be good up forward. So, no, I'm not looking into Georgiades there, especially at 394k. You want to be, if you're buying it around that range, you want him getting up to that 500k. So you don't see him doing that at all for me.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. And for about 40, 50k more expensive, we'll jump into the premium category now, Tice. But someone who was hot on this, I was really hot on at the start of preseason. There's a lot of chat of him moving into the midfield. I think he's still training there and still training really well from all reports. Is Miles Bergman. He's a 447k defender. He showed last year when he got the midfield minutes, he could score well. Has he been in your side at all this preseason? Are you interested?
I was very interested. I started with him in my side as well. And then he's just sort of slowly been edged out of my side, favoured from a couple of other guys. I'm not as hot on Bergman as you are. I know you're a massive Bergman lover, and we saw a bit of the midfield time last year, but he was viewed as more of the defensive midfielder, sort of the two-way running. Always, if there was someone that had to be shut out of the game, he would just go to them. It didn't hurt his scoring that much. He was still putting out a few good hundreds, but with a preseason under his belt in the midfield now, I don't see why you're not on him at the moment.
I think there's really good options. And I'm worried about his Mr. Fix It and his flexibility as being a downfall of his. Like we saw last year, like I was looking at bringing him in, and then he had a couple really good games in the midfield, and then I think Lockie Jones got injured in the first quarter, and Bergman, who was meant to be playing midfield day, got swung back straight away, played a lockdown role off halfback and scored a 50. And then a couple of games later, I think a forward got injured and he played as that hybrid forward sort of thing. So he can play anywhere. And as good as that is for Port and as good as that makes him, it's a detriment for super coaches. And I just don't want to pick him and then him play half forward round three or play on the wing or something like that. Where, you could pick someone like a Colby McKercher for a very similar price. You know exactly what you're going to get. The role is going to be the exact same every week and you can sort of rely on him a lot more. So it'll hurt me not picking him. And look, I won't, if I don't start him, I'll watch him every week and want him every week. But I think there's more risks involved in Bergman.
Yeah, I do agree with that. If he was just going to be that midfielder, but be the defensive midfielder all the time that we saw, would that entice you at 447k? Because then he's getting a lot of contested ball.
Yeah, it would. I would definitely be looking at it. There's no doubt about that. because it translated really well to Supercoach scoring last year. Like, he didn't rack up huge amounts of pill. I don't even know if he go over 30 touches once, but he still scored well in Supercoach because he tackles hard. He gets that contested pill. He marks really well above his head. Those are really good Supercoach attributes, and his game does translate really well to Supercoach. So, yeah, I'd definitely be looking at it. We've got 2 games to look at it in the preseason. I'm hoping if that role is solidified, I don't see him wavering at all. And maybe one of the other mid prices that I'm hot on falls off a little bit. He could come into my side, but yeah, there's just a few risks involved in it.
Yeah. And like you said before, he's a bit of the Mr. Fix-It for them. So, and maybe Will Brodie sets the world on fire. Ollie Wines needs to get back in there, and because Bergman's so good everywhere, Bergman's pushed out, and Will Brodie just plays midfield. So, got to wait and see on that. But yeah, it's probably easier to pass on Miles Bergman at the moment if you wanted a pod. It could be a good shout. It's a risky play. They do have a very good early fixture as well, which we will get to. But let's talk about the other premium in defence, who's the most owned in Port Adelaide at the moment in Supercoach. Connor Rozee, 568k. He's in 56% of teams. Is it as easy as just pick him, or is there reasons why you can't pick him?
No, it's as easy as pick him. I think he's a great pick. He's a great pick. He's averaged 105 last year in the first full season as that halfback. He moved pretty early in the year to halfback. Look, you got Naz and Connor Rozee, I think, over 50% owned, and the next highest premium defender is around 10%. I think it's like Jordan Clark. I don't see him in that. He's not in the same category as Nats for mine. I really like. I'm starting with Rozee because everyone is, but I don't think he's going to be like far and away better than someone like Jordan Clark or Jack Sinclair. So I think he's a great start and he's at a good price, but I don't think he's necessarily a must-have. How do you feel about it?
Oh, I don't know. I'd almost put him in the must-have category because it doesn't matter where he plays. He's that good of a player. 568k is great buying for a guy that is just so dominant wherever he plays. At the start of the year, he probably played, it was 4 games as a midfielder, like pure mid, and he dropped 128, 130, then went 64 and 76. That's when he then moved to half back and dominated from there. 137, 103, 118. Like the scores just keep going. He then finished the year in the midfield because they had a few injuries and all that kind of stuff. And still produced the scoring, 94, 112. There's 124 in there as well. So I don't think it matters where this guy plays. We prefer to see him off halfback because it's more consistent. It's the bigger ceiling because he's just that good of a user. In under 18s, he was picked as a halfback. He played halfback in the under 18s comp. That's why he got drafted. And then he moved into the midfield because he's just good enough to do that. Now he's going back to that halfback. He's now got a full preseason back at halfback. He's older now, more reliable. I think it's almost a no-brainer pick. It's a set and forget, especially with the early fixture for me.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's the best option, but I don't think all I was saying is I don't think he's far and away better than someone like a Jackson or a Jordan Clark. I think they're all really good players, but the thing I love the most about Rozee is what you've just said. Is his reliability. You don't really have to question. Like if Jackson gets thrown in the midfield, he has had some stinker games in there. Jordan Clark has been quiet here and there potentially. So I just think I can rely on Connor Rozee. So, and I do think he's really reasonably priced as well at 568k. I think that's really good buying. So, no, I'm all about Connor Rozee. And like you said, his ceiling's so big and he's got in almost 60% of sides. It could hurt you too much not to start him. So I think he's, a no-brainer at this stage. Moving into the midfield, Tice, the highest owned midfielder, if I'm not mistaken, in terms of premiums is Zach Butters. 654k, 54% of teams, contract year. We saw how good he was on Saturday night in the State of Origin. I think this is a set and forget. I'm so bullish on Zach Butters this year.
Yeah, and I think everyone else is because he's clearly in 54% of sides. I'm so bullish on Zach Butters too. you mentioned it. It's a contract year. He wants to put as many zeros on that contract as he can. Whether he goes somewhere else or stays at Port, if he has a dominant year, he then has to get paid more
Yeah,
to then be enticed to stay somewhere. Because other clubs are going to offer him more. We know this guy is a freak. I think we both picked him. I know I might have picked him as the number one. I think you had him as number two for what your prediction was
yeah.
in midfield rankings.
No bias involved there.
No bias at all. At the early run, lock away the captaincy every week for the first, say, 5 weeks. It's so easy to pick Zach Butters, and that's so hard to say at 654k. You have to fork
Yeah,
out 654,000. No early buy is probably the reason why he's in a lot more sides than people have him.
yep,
It's just a lock for me.
yeah. And like you said, we'll get to his early fixture in a minute, but it's so light. Even at 654k, if you don't start him, you will struggle to bring him in. And like your whole trade plans for the first 6 weeks will be, how can I bring Zach Butters in? So yeah, just start him and forget about it, I think.
Yep, I agree with that. And if he dominates, gets above 700k, which is what I'm going to forecast he does, it's not to say that he can't do it against the good teams too. He dominates against
Exactly
good teams.
right.
He's just that good.
Exactly right.
So lock him away. Easy, set, and forget. His other midfield counterpart seems like they have 5 or 6 genuine midfielders in here.
Yeah.
So how do they all fit? I'm not sure. We saw a bit of it last year, but Jason Horne-Francis, 511k, the former number one draft pick. Do you see this being his year where he really turns it on and gets to that top echelon of Uber Premium for Supercoach?
Not for me. He can't. He hasn't got the consistency that I want from a midfielder. He's not fit at the moment. He's touch and go for the preseason games. So, interrupted preseason at that price, it's a no.
Yeah, interrupted preseason always screams that shaky start for me. And 511k is a bit to spend on him. You labelled the consistency, so I don't need to touch on that. In terms of the players, we'll just finish off with the ruck line, really. It's Jordan Sweet and Vicentini because Soldo's gone down with a injury, and it's a pretty long-term one. Is Jordan Sweet at 471k enticing at all, or Vicentini at 300k?
Nah. I can't be interested in either of them. Just with them fighting for the same position as well. You don't know what you're going to get. I know Jordan Sweet dropped the big double 100 last year, but I don't even know who's going to be playing. So, and if they're both playing together, it's a no-go. So, you in the same boat?
Yeah, I can't start either of them. Vicentini might jump ahead of Jordan Sweet, but 300k is not good buying in that one for the ruck line. We're probably just not looking at either of them as options, really. Maybe as a draft option at some point because you've got a limited amount of teams. Not in the classic format. But we've touched on a fair few times the early fixture. They start off very friendly with North Melbourne, Essendon, West Coast, Richmond, St Kilda, all teams that are probably going to miss the wild cards. I guess people are kind of hot on St Kilda, but the first 4 games, you can almost lock away a Zach Butters captain role, captain score, and a Connor Rosie if you're not going for Zach Butters. Then after that, it's Hawthorn, Geelong, Adelaide, Bulldogs, Gold Coast. It gets a bit less favourable after that, but we know that the premiums for Port Adelaide are so classy and so good. It's probably an easy pick on a couple of those premiums we listed. In terms of the year prediction ahead, Das, you're not as hot on Port Adelaide as I am. Let's start with yours. Where do you see Port Adelaide finishing this year?
Yeah, I'm not as hot as you are. I don't think they're going to be easy beats by any measure, but I think they'll be pushing hard for that wild card round. But I don't know, somewhere between like 8 to 14. I don't think they'll be bottom 4, but I don't think they'll contend at all. But you're a lot more bullish. I recall someone might have said top four. I think that might have been a quote of yours in one of our previous episodes.
Look, no, I don't see them pushing top four, but I'm gonna have them around that range of the probably like that 6 to 10 range. I think they make the wild cards at least. And yeah, look, they'll push up into that probably fifth and sixth spot. I just might have a couple of other teams ahead of them for the top four. Yeah, I just think that their midfield's too good. They've got a solid defense, and their forward line's definitely working with Georgiades there. With a full team on the park, I think they're a very good side. So that's probably it for the review on Port Adelaide. And yeah, we'll catch everyone in the next one, which is the Mighty Tigers. So I'm keen to chat about them, that's for sure.
Sounds good. I think that'll be a long one. Knowing you, just be rambling about the Tigers all day. So this will be good.
All right. Nah, that's it. Let's sign off now. Thanks, Stars. Cheers, mate.
All right, thanks, guys.